Hey everybody, DeRosa here, coming at you with another battle report. And this time we dusted off the Osprey game of The Men Who Would Be Kings. Today's battle reenacts a fight from the Second Afghan War, in which I had British forces and Dan had Afghani forces. Here we see my forces set up in the village. We played scenario C, which was to the last bullet, in which the British forces were surrounded in a village and had to fight it out with limited ammunition. And here we see some of Dan's Afghani forces. He had irregular infantry troops, cavalry, and a mountain gun. This is my worst company. They had a 7 leadership led by Lieutenant Ernest Johnson. He had bald as a coot leadership trait and actually ended up with the most ammunition with 7 rounds of ammunition. The Afghani forces started 6 inches within the board edge, and here we are setting them up. And Dan started up in the mountain. He had his mountain gun down below, and these forces were going to charge down. His other irregular forces were located on the other side of the village wall, on the far side of the village, and those guys are going to come in and attack me at some point. My goal with Lieutenant Johnson's force was to drop him back behind the wall behind me on my first turn, but he ended up failing his rolls multiple times in a row. I forgot to mention the 2 victory conditions of the game. One was that units had to hold the bottom left building here, seen here. The second way to win this scenario was that the British had to last 5 rounds without taking any casualties, which was almost impossible. Strongest British unit, some Highlanders of Jonathan Mason, captain, 5+. They were really the heroes of this game because we did our pre-rolls for leaders, and this guy got a double move because he had Destined for Greatness ability. Here we see Dan's cavalry force, Hero of the Empire, so they had a 4+ on their leadership abilities. He used them to sneak around my right flank, and then you'll see that he holds down my right flank with a cannon shot and then charges in with his horses. Unfortunately for the Afghani commander, he located an unlucky unit in front of my artillery piece, and I was able to blast it off the board pretty quickly. The Afghani forces had the momentum. The mountain men and their irregular forces coming through the village could have charged up, but they failed a couple order initiatives, and so it gave me time to hold back. But Dan was able to hammer with that gun in the back there, like I said, this right flank unit. Here comes the Afghani Hero of the Empire cavalry force. They charge over the wall. They knock back Lieutenant Richard Evans's force, which is eventually killed. But here we see the Highlanders, which will be the heroes of the game. In the meantime, the momentum of the Afghani irregulars stalls, and the force of Ernest Johnson is holding out in the street, even though they're highly exposed and have a dubious leadership trait. The irregulars finally get moving, but will it be in time? Okay, back to the action. The British are able to pull a gun over the wall while the weak force pulls back. The Afghani sneak down the road and get in front of the buildings and go towards the objective. What will happen? This force is able to shoot down the road and hold back the Afghanis, give them some pins, and limit their movement ability. The gun keeps firing, though, and keeps doing damage, slowly but surely whittling away my forces. The striped team of irregulars keeps moving forward, but they will get hammered by the Henry Martini rifle. Here we see them sneaking across, and here we have a choice. The Afghani cavalry comes towards the British. They destroy one unit, but then the Highlanders, with their double move, are able to charge the cavalry unit and then fire back and put pins onto the Afghani other force. The regular force from the mountain come across the street to help their buddies who have taken some damage. Will they be able to reinforce? And will Lieutenant Johnson be able to hold them back? They are able to. The Afghans take some pins, have to withdraw. And here we see the gun is able to move around. And then to end the game, the Highlanders move into the objective. And with no ability to take the objective, the Afghanis have to sneak back into the hills. And then we end up playing a second game in which Dan will win, but we'll talk about that later. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you at the tables.